सत श्री अकाल एंड वेलकम टू CJ सिद्धू शो। जिस तरह तुहानूं पता ही है कि एवरी थर्सडे असी थोड़े रूबरू होई दे तो थोड़ी गल कराई दी है मोस्टली पॉलिटिशियंस ना कनेडियन पॉलिटिशियंस नाल एंड समटाइम्स खास मुलाकात स्पैशल एडिशन ऑफ माई शो साडे इंडिया तो पॉलिटिशियन आए सी मेरे एरिए तो राजस्थान तो उन्हों का इंटरव्यू करन दा मौका मिले एज ए खास मुलाकात स्पैशल एडिशन बट मोस्टली कनेडियन पॉलिटिशियन ऑल स्ट्राइप्स starting from the city hall to provincial to federal government so उन्होंने गलबात करी दी है ताकि वध तो वध थोड़े लिए फर्स्ट हैंड इनफॉर्मेशन थोड़े तक पहुँचाई जा सके सो मैं ऑलवेज ब्रेकिंग न्यूज़ तो शुरू करता हूँ या जी करंट न्यूज़ है उस तो गलबात शुरू करीदा है जिस तरह तुहानूं पता है कि प्राइम मिनिस्टर मिस्टर मार्क कार्नी नेम्ड द कनेडियन प्रेस न्यूज़ मेकर ऑफ द ईयर in 2025 obviously I'm not surprised, you are not surprised, and he picked the most votes ever, 72 votes out of 95 respondents. And once he came in the scene as a leader of Liberal Party, and at that time Mr. Pierre Poilievre was leading by 26 basis point. So there was almost a thinking like a prime minister, and the whole thing changed when he used the acronym like elbows up, and especially to respond to US President Donald Trump's threat about annexation of Canada, भी ਇਹਨੂੰ 51 state ਬਣਾ ਦੇਣਾ ਤੇ ਉਸ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਨਾਲ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਟੈਰਿਫਸ ਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਥ੍ਰੈਟ ਹੈਗੀ ਉਹ ਹਲੇ ਵੀ ਚੱਲ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ ਬਾਈ ਚਾਂਸ ਅਨਫੋਰਚੂਨੇਟਲੀ ਸੋ ਇਹ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਹੀ ਹੈਂਡਲ ਇਟ ਵੈਰੀ ਵੈਲ ਐਂਡ ਰੀਸੈਂਟਲੀ Mr. Carney appointed one of his close friends and associate, Mr. Mark Newsman, and he will be the ambassador to USA. And he is a financier, he is a businessman, he is very well known, and the situation Canada is facing, we needed an ambassador that have a lot of knowledge about the business and especially the negotiations going with America, and we are in a tough spot there, so we need someone who can handle those situations. So ਇਹ ਖਾਸ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਸੀਗੀਆਂ ਬਾਕੀ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਹੀ ਹੈ कि जैफरी एप्स्टीन्स दी जिहड़ी फाइल्स हैगियां very disgusting, alarming pictures coming out, the who's who of America, past presidents, Bill Clinton, obviously Donald Trump, and Bill Gates, very high profile people, so disgusting, underage girls, and those files are coming out, but it's redacted, means ਕਾਫੀ ਕੁਛ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਲੁਕੋ ਕੇ ਰੱਖਿਆ ਐਂਡ ਇਸੇ ਲਈ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਡੈਮੋਕ੍ਰੇਟਸ ਆ ਉਹ ਰੌਲਾ ਪਾ ਰਹੇ ਆ ਕਿ ਇਹਨੂੰ ਹੋਰ ਪਿਕਚਰਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਕਲੀਅਰ ਕਰੋ ਐਂਡ ਪਿਕਚਰਾਂ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਹੈਗੀਆਂ ਫਿਰ ਵੀ ਮਿਸਟਰ ਟਰੰਪ ਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਹੈਂਡਲਰਸ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਟਰਾਈ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਆ ਕਿ ਬਾਹਲੀਆਂ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਮੂਹਰੇ ਨਾ ਆਉਣ ਬਟ ਦੇਰ ਇਜ਼ ਅ ਲੋਟ ਕਮਿੰਗ ਆਊਟ ਐਂਡ ਇਟਸ ਸੋ ਸੈਡ ਐਂਡ ਸੋ ਡਿਸਕਸਟਿੰਗ ਟੂ ਸੀ ਆਲ ਦੋਜ਼ ਪਿਕਚਰਸ ਪਰ ਦੇਖਦੇ ਆ ਸੋ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਧਿਆਨ ਹਟਾਉਣ ਲਈ Trump always tried to do something differently, like Venezuela, 3 tankers, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਆਪਣੇ ਰੋਕ ਕੇ ਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਫੜ ਲਿਆ ਸੋ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਲੜਾਈ ਮੁੱਲ ਲੈਣ ਦੀ ਟਰਾਈ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਆ ਸੋ ਇਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੇ ਇਹ ਉਪਰਾਲੇ ਕਰਦੇ ਤਾਂ ਕਿ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਨਿਊਜ਼ ਆ ਉਧਰੋਂ ਨਜ਼ਰ ਹਟ ਕੇ ਇੱਧਰਲੇ ਪਾਸੇ ਹੋ ਜਾਏ ਪਰ ਇਹ ਦੇਖਣ ਨੂੰ ਮਿਲੂਗਾ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਮੀਡੀਆ ਇਜ਼ ਅ ਵੈਰੀ ਸਟਰੋਂਗ ਨਾਊਡੇਜ਼ ਸੋਸ਼ਲ ਮੀਡੀਆ ਇਜ਼ ਇਵਨ ਸਟਰੋਂਗਰ ਸੋ ਇਹ ਸਾਰੀਆਂ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਬਾਤਾਂ ਕਰਨ ਲਈ almost like a end of the year interview, I couldn't find a better person than a member of parliament from Surrey White Rock, Mr. Ernie Klassen. I know him really well. Mr. Klassen, as you know, was a city councillor in city of White Rock, and then when the opportunity came in 2025, he jumped into a federal arena with the Liberal Party of Canada, and he was elected member of parliament. And Ernie have a amazing stellar resume. He was born and raised near Abbotsford, and he studied photography and eventually opened a series of small businesses, including a photography studio and a floral shop in my neck of the wood in, say, White Rock area. And, and he deals quite a bit with the children with the disabilities and in a disability in general. And for that reason, he founded and served as the executive director of the Upper Fraser Valley Neurological Society and was the president of BC and Yukon Child Development Rehab Services. ਇਸ ਤੋਂ ਇਲਾਵਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਸਰਵਿਸ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹੈਗੀ ਹੈ ਜਦੋਂ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ 'ਚ ਲੋਕੀ ਸਰਵ ਕਰਕੇ ਇਸ ਪੋਜੀਸ਼ਨ ਤੇ ਪਹੁੰਚਦੇ ਆਈ ਗੈਟ ਮੋਰ ਐਕਸਾਈਟਡ ਬਿਕੋਜ਼ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਦੇ ਪੇਡ ਦ ਡਿਊਜ਼ not to ਬੱਲੇ ਬੱਲੇ ਕਰਾਉਣ ਲਈ ਇਹ MP ਬਣਦੇ ਆ so he was volunteer board of director founder and president of the White Rock Pride Society and was elected to the White Rock City Council in 2022 and where he served until he became a member of parliament. So he talked about a lot. He's very passionate and defender of Canada's sovereignty and Charter of Rights and Freedoms, and a strong advocate for small businesses, farmers, seniors, and the vulnerable communities, working families that wake up, and in our community and communities in large. So 20-year experience serving the White Rock community and is known for his inclusive leadership and passion for driving positive change. Please join me welcoming Ernie Klassen. So Ernie, welcome to CJ Sidhu Show.
Thank you very much, Professor CJ. I just find out that you're a professor, and it's my privilege to be here.
So thank you, and you're a rookie member of parliament, and tell your experience as a new member of parliament, going to the big world of Ottawa and talking to the senior MPs, and what is your experience?
Well, I have to say it's been a very positive experience for me so far. The Prime Minister, of course, as you already alluded to in your introduction, is revered around the world.
Yes. So ਆਪਣੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਮੈਂ ਪੁੱਛਿਆ ਸੀ ਵੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਨਵੇਂ MP ਬਣੇ ਆ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਇਹ ਕਾਉਂਸਲਰ ਸੀਗੇ ਹੁਣ ਨਵੇਂ MP ਹੈਗੇ ਆ ਤੇ ਮੈਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਪੁੱਛਿਆ ਸੀ ਵੀ ਇਹ ਉਹ ਬਿਗ ਤਲਾਬ ਹੈਗਾ It's a big pond ਜਿਹੜਾ ਹੈਗਾ Ottawa ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ member of parliament. I have a lot of experience. I've been there actually, and I was Sukh's guest, and so ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਪ੍ਰਾਈਮ ਮਿਨਿਸਟਰ ਆਪਣੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਬਾਰੇ ਮੈਂ ਦੱਸ ਕੇ ਹਟਿਆ so very welcoming, and as you know, Prime Minister during election and after the election been twice to White Rock.
Yeah. So a year ago, I had still no intention of running for the Liberal Party of Canada. I made acquaintances with a number of people in my community as a city councillor, and when it looked like there was going to be an election, first of all, there'd be an election for the leader of the party, and then there would be a general election called for the country of Canada. And a number of members of parliament from the former government approached me and said, you know what, you're the kind of person that we really want to embrace and have you join our party. So it was a privilege, and then I put my name forward, and here we are 8 months later. I've now served as a member of parliament, as you say, as a rookie.
Yeah, that's right. So ਅੰਨੀ ਦਾ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਕਿ 1 ਸਾਲ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਕੋਈ ਆਈਡੀਆ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀਗਾ ਸੋ ਰਨ ਕਰਨ ਦਾ ਦੈਨ ਇਹ ਅਪਰੋਚ ਕੀਤਾ ਗਿਆ ਬਾਕੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਸਾਡੀ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਹੀ ਜਾਣਦੀ ਸੀ ਐਜ਼ ਏ ਕਾਉਂਸਲਰ ਐਂਡ ਦੈਨ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਨੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਅਪਰੋਚ ਕੀਤਾ ਦੈਨ ਹੀ ਜੁਆਇਨਡ ਦ ਲਿਬਰਲ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਐਂਡ ਦੈਨ ਹੀ ਪੁੱਟ ਹਿਜ਼ ਨੇਮ ਫਾਰਵਰਡ ਫॉर ਅ ਮੈਂਬਰ ਆਫ ਪਾਰਲੀਮੈਂਟ ਹੀ ਰੈਨ ਐਂਡ ਹੁਣ 8 ਮਹੀਨੇ ਹੋ ਗਏ ਐਜ਼ ਏ ਵੈਲਕਮ ਐਡੀਸ਼ਨ ਟੂ ਐਜ਼ ਏ ਮੈਂਬਰ ਆਫ ਪਾਰਲੀਮੈਂਟ ਆਫ ਲਿਬਰਲ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਆਫ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ. So, Ernie, what is your experience so far as a member of parliament? Because, from a city council on a smaller level to going to a Canadian level, what is your experience?
Again, the experiences have been very positive, of course. to have the Prime Minister come to my riding twice in 1 year, twice in 6 months actually, has been so well received in my community. The community sees that the Prime Minister has noticed myself, and we have put White Rock on the map. That, of course, has been the greatest experience, I would have to say. However, just meeting the other MPs, they have embraced me. They have followed my career path from the past and have gotten to know me, and they know that I represent as one of my passions people with disabilities, people that are vulnerable, minorities, and human rights issues around the world. As a matter of fact, the Prime Minister invited me to come to his office together with three other parliamentary secretaries. And he went to all four of us and said, what are your goals? What would you like to leave as your legacy in government? And I said to him exactly what I have said. I want to make sure that Canada remains to be seen around the world as a leader in human rights issues would be one of my biggest passions.
ਸੋ ਅਰਨੀ ਦਾ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਲਾਈਕ ਕੀਤਾ, ਉੱਥੇ ਸਾਰੇ ਵੈਲਕਮਿੰਗ ਸੀ। ਮੈਂਬਰ ਆਫ ਪਾਰਲੀਮੈਂਟ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸੀਨੀਅਰ ਮੈਂਬਰ ਆਫ ਪਾਰਲੀਮੈਂਟ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ ਖਾਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਸੇਮ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਦੇ ਵੈਲਕਮ ਵੀ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ, ਐਂਡ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਸਾਰਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸਿਸਟਮ ਹੈਗੇ ਉਹ ਵੀ ਸਮਝਾਉਂਦੇ, ਉਹਦੀ ਹੈਲਪ ਕਰਦੇ। ਸੋ ਹੀ ਸੈਡ ਵੈਰੀ ਗੁੱਡ ਪੋਜ਼ੀਟਿਵ ਐਕਸਪੀਰੀਅੰਸ। ਬਾਕੀ ਪ੍ਰਾਈਮ ਮਿਨਿਸਟਰ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਹੀ ਹੈ ਕਿ 6 ਮਹੀਨਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ 2 ਵਾਰੀ ਇੱਥੇ ਵਾਈਟ ਰੌਕ ਆਏ। ਸੋ ਇਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਵਾਈਟ ਰੌਕ ਦਾ ਨੇਮ ਵੀ, ਵੈਸੇ ਤਾਂ ਵਾਈਟ ਰੌਕ ਦਾ ਨਾਮ ਵੈਸੇ ਹੀ ਕਾਫੀ ਪੋਪੂਲਰ ਹੈ ਬਿਕੋਜ਼ ਆਫ ਦਾ ਬੀਚ ਐਂਡ ਓਸ਼ਨ ਐਂਡ ਪਰ ਪ੍ਰਾਈਮ ਮਿਨਿਸਟਰ ਆਉਣ ਕਰਕੇ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਮੀਡੀਆ ਕਵਰੇਜ ਕਰਕੇ। ਬਾਕੀ ਅਰਨੀ ਦਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਪੈਸ਼ਨ ਹੈਗਾ ਆ ਇਸ ਵਰਕਿੰਗ ਵਿਦ ਮਾਈਨੋਰਿਟੀਜ਼ ਐਂਡ ਵਰਕਿੰਗ ਵਿਦ ਦ ਪੀਪਲ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਵਿਚਾਰੇ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਹੈਲਪ ਦੀ ਲੋੜ ਹੈਗੀ ਹੈ, ਡਿਸੇਬਿਲਿਟੀ ਵਾਲੇ ਪੀਪਲ ਹੈ। ਸੋ ਇਹ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਪੈਸ਼ਨ ਹੈਗਾ। ਸੋ ਆਈ ਆਲਵੇਜ਼ ਅਰਨੀ, ਆਈ ਆਲਵੇਜ਼ love, and I initially said in Punjabi and English, I always like politicians. They come into this role for the right reasons, to make a difference, not for a ego or for their name or whatever that reason. And they didn't serve the community before, and then all of a sudden, whatever the reason might be. And I have a lot of respect for that.
Thank you. And I think during the election, I heard over and over again that I was a member of the community that believed in whatever the issue of the day was. Let's just talk about making sure that the people living on the streets had a place to go and eat and get warm in the winter time. I believed in that cause, and I pursued that cause, and I was able to bring the rest of the council on board to look at those kind of things. But that's not my only area of interest. For example, when the Prime Minister came, we walked along the promenade, and I pointed across the water and I said, right there, you can see it across the water is the United States. And we are in White Rock, we are a tourist community. South Surrey benefits from the tourists coming through White Rock. But South Surrey is also actually a larger geographical part of my riding.
Yes.
And so I have a great relationship with the Mayor Locke in White Rock, in Surrey, I should say, not South Surrey, in all of Surrey. And she and I are talking about several projects that I intend to bring forward in the next year to the Prime Minister's attention in Surrey. So at one point in time when I was a city councillor, my focus was White Rock. However, now, after having been elected, I recognize that Surrey is a much larger, again, geographical, but also population base to my riding.
Basically. So, ਅਰਨੀ ਦਾ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਰਾਈਡਿੰਗ ਹੈਗੀ ਆ ਉਹ ਬਹੁਤ ਵੱਡਾ ਹਿੱਸਾ ਸਾਊਥ ਸਰੀ ਦਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਹੈ। ਸੋ ਸਾਊਥ ਸਰੀ ਨੂੰ ਰੈਪਰੈਜ਼ੈਂਟ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ, ਵਾਈਟ ਰੌਕ ਨੂੰ ਰੈਪਰੈਜ਼ੈਂਟ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ। ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਮੇਅਰ ਬ੍ਰੈਂਡਾ ਲੌਕ ਆ ਉਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਵਧੀਆ ਰਿਲੇਸ਼ਨਸ਼ਿਪ ਹੈ। ਸੋ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਮੈਂਬਰ ਆਫ ਪਾਰਲੀਮੈਂਟ ਆ ਆਲਵੇਜ਼ ਜਦੋਂ ਸਿਟੀ ਲਈ ਕੋਈ ਫੰਡਿੰਗ ਜਾਂ ਪੈਸੇ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆਉਣੇ ਪ੍ਰੋਜੈਕਟਸ ਲਈ ਹੈ, ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਬਰਿੰਡਾ ਲੋਕ ਨਾਲ ਗੱਲ ਹੋਈ ਹੈ, ਉਸ 'ਤੇ ਵੀ ਇਹ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ, ਅਤੇ ਉਸ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਇਹ ਮੇਕ ਸ਼ੋਰ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ ਕਿ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਦੋਨੇ ਸਿਟੀਜ਼ ਹੈਗੀਆਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਵਧੀਆ ਤਰੀਕੇ ਨਾਲ ਕਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਆਪਾਂ ਸਰਵ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਾਂ। You are also a parliamentary secretary for fisheries and oceans. Can you tell us a little bit more about this portfolio and what do you need to do and what do you do in that role?
So I like to say in the corporate world, I would be the vice president, and the minister is the president of the Ministry of Fisheries and Oceans. So I represent the minister when she is not able to be at an event or at a meeting or a discussion around topics that involve fisheries, oceans, the environment in that perspective. It was a great privilege to receive this appointment 6 weeks after being elected for the first time. The Prime Minister said, we need to bring new ideas and we need to bring new people to some of these roles. However, one of the main factors in the appointment was that the minister is from the Atlantic coast of Canada and I'm from the Pacific coast of Canada. So we wanted to ensure that issues related to fisheries was well represented from coast to coast to coast. So I am now working with a lot of the First Nations groups along the Fraser River. We are the government is in the process of coming to a lot of agreements. There are more than 50 First Nations groups along the Fraser River that we need to sign agreements with and come to working relationships with. And in British Columbia, we have more than 70 First Nations that are represented, that the government is working together on reconciliation issues.
Yes.
But of course, salmon, as we all know, is sacred to the First Nations groups. And I would venture to say to most British Columbians, salmon is one of the interests and one of the focuses of people to make sure that we preserve the salmon in the West Coast.
ਸੋ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਇਹ ਪਾਰਲੀਮੈਂਟਰੀ ਸੈਕਟਰੀ ਹੈ, ਜੂਨੀਅਰ ਮਿਨਿਸਟਰ ਵੀ ਆਪਾਂ ਕਹਿ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਆਪਣੇ ਫਿਸ਼ਰੀਜ਼ ਐਂਡ ਓਸ਼ਨਸ ਬਹੁਤ ਇੰਪੋਰਟੈਂਟ ਏਰੀਆ ਹੈਗਾ ਆ ਆਪਣੇ ਪੈਸੀਫਿਕ ਕੋਸਟ ਐਂਡ ਆਲਸੋ ਅਰਨੀ ਰੈਪਰੈਜ਼ੈਂਟ ਪੈਸੀਫਿਕ ਕੋਸਟ ਐਂਡ ਦੈਟ ਇਜ਼ ਏ ਐਟਲਾਂਟਿਕ ਕੋਸਟ। ਸੋ ਇਹ ਰਲ ਕੇ ਫਿਰ ਆਪਸ 'ਚ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਦੇ। ਇਸ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਨਾਲ ਜਿਹੜੇ 70 ਦੇ ਕਰੀਬ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਫਰਸਟ ਨੇਸ਼ਨਜ਼ ਜਾਂ ਇੰਡੀਜਨਸ ਪੀਪਲ ਹੈ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਇਨਵੋਲਵਮੈਂਟ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਵੀ ਚੱਲਦੀ ਹੈ। ਸੈਮਨ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਫਿਸ਼ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹੈ ਬੜੀ ਮਸ਼ਹੂਰ ਹੈਗੀ ਹੈ, ਉਹਦੇ ਪ੍ਰੋਟੈਕਸ਼ਨ ਲਈ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਰਲ ਕੇ ਇੰਡੀਜਨਸ ਪੀਪਲ ਨਾਲ ਮਿਲ ਕੇ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਪ੍ਰੋਟੈਕਟ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਐਟ ਦ ਸੇਮ ਟਾਈਮ ਪ੍ਰੋਟੈਕਟਿੰਗ ਦ ਐਕੋਸਿਸਟਮ ਸੋ ਵੀ ਹੈਵ ਗੁੱਡ ਐਨਵਾਇਰਨਮੈਂਟ।
Yes, the number one focus in the ministry portfolio is to ensure conservation of the fish supply around all of Canada. Canada has the longest coastline of any country in the world, and in the previous government and even prior to the former government, the Coast Guard was also under the portfolio of the Minister of Fisheries and Oceans. However, that no longer is the case. So now the focus of this particular ministry is conservation of fish stock, number one, and number two would be for the indigenous nations, that we ensure that food ceremonial fish is at their disposal. Then we move into fishing for the recreational and the commercial sector and ensure that we have a livelihood for the people of not just the West Coast, but for the people all across Canada that live in, whether it's a large fishing community or a small fishing community.
ਸੋ ਅਰਨੀ ਨੂੰ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਕੁਐਸਚਨ ਕਿਹਾ ਸੀ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਪੋਰਟਫੋਲੀਓ ਐਜ਼ ਏ ਪਾਰਲੀਮੈਂਟਰੀ ਸੈਕਟਰੀ ਫਿਸ਼ਰੀਜ਼ ਐਂਡ ਓਸ਼ਨਸ, ਸੋ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਆ ਕਿ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਕੰਜ਼ਰਵੇਸ਼ਨ ਆਫ ਫਿਸ਼ supply and stock is very important for Canada. It's a very important for indigenous people. And ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆਪਣੀ coastline ਹੈ, it's the longest, Canadian coastline is the longest in the world. ਸੋ ਦੁਨੀਆ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨਾਲੋਂ ਵੱਡੀ coastline ਹੈ ਜੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਦੇਖੀਏ ਤਾਂ, ਤੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਕੋਸਟ ਗਾਰਡਸ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ, ਜਿਹੜਾ ਫਿਸ਼ ਸਟਾਕ ਹੈ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਪ੍ਰੋਟੈਕਟ ਕਰਨਾ equally important ਹੈਗਾ. Let's switch a gear a little bit and come to your areas of expertise of disabilities. And it's a very important area. And what you would like to say about that?
Well, as you said in the introduction, I was the executive director, the founder, and then the executive director of the Fraser Valley Child Development Center, after which I became the president of the BC and Yukon Association of 30 child development centers across British Columbia and the Yukon. So I have a lot of experience, and that continues to be an interest of mine and a focus of mine. Last week, when I was flying back from Ottawa, I ran into Rick Hansen. He was on the same flight as I was. And Rick and I knew each other years ago in my former role. However, we discovered that we both grew up in Abbotsford, and we had actually gone to the same elementary school.
Oh, wow.
I don't remember him from back then. However, we shared the same classroom for a short period of time. And so the United Nations has put...
And you remember that, or just after talking to him?
Just after talking to him, we both realized that we grew up for approximately 5 years of our childhood. We grew up about a kilometer apart from each other.
Oh, wow.
And then he became one of Canada's most well-known citizens, and I have always admired everything Rick Hansen has done for the country, for people with disabilities, and now I'm privileged that he and I, in our conversation, we talked about how we can work together and continue working on improving the country as it deals with people with disabilities. So Rick and I have committed to ensuring that we make Canada as accessible a country as absolutely possible over the next decade.
So Ernie Klassen ने mention ਕੀਤਾ कि ਇਹ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਤਾਂ introduction ਮੈਂ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਸੀ, Fraser Valley Child Development चे founder भी रहे हैं, president भी रहे हैं, and then both from BC and Yukon the leadership ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ role ਲਿਆ as a director as well. So ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਕਾਫੀ ਇਹਦੀ ਸਮਝ ਹੈਗੀ ਹੈ. ਫਿਰ ਇਹ same plane ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸੀ Rick Hansen. Don't need a big introduction. It's well known in Canada, did a great job for people with the disabilities. So ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਕਿ ਉਹ ਮਿਲੇ, ਫਿਰ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਹੋਈ. So to Ernie's surprise, they went to same elementary school. They ਆਪਣੇ ਇੱਕ ਦੂਜੇ ਦੇ 1 ਕਿਲੋਮੀਟਰ ਤੇ ਉਹ ਐਬਸਫੋਰਡ ਰਹਿੰਦੇ ਸੀ, grew up there. And ਕਈ ਵਾਰੀ ਜਦੋਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਮੁੜ ਕੇ ਆਪਦੀ ਪਿਕਚਰ ਦੇਖਦੇ ਆ, you say wow, right? And you meet him. So ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਨ ਦਾ ਮੌਕਾ ਮਿਲਿਆ, ਐਂਡ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਹੁਣ ਡਿਸਾਈਡ ਕੀਤਾ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਰਿਕ ਹੈਂਸਨ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸਾਰੇ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਬਹੁਤ ਵੱਡਾ ਕੰਮ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹੈ ਡਿਸੇਬਿਲਿਟੀਜ਼ ਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ. ਸੋ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਕਨਵਰਸੇਸ਼ਨ ਹੋਈ ਕਿ ਹਾਊ ਵੀ ਕੈਨ ਮੇਕ even more better for people with the disabilities. So tell us a little bit about the conversation with Rick Hansen, your conversation.
Okay, I just
and where it took place and how long you talk about and what you guys talk about.
Sure, okay. So I just want to mention Stephanie Cadieux,
yes,
who is a former member MLA in British Columbia and also lives in my riding. She also joined us, so the three of us.
Oh, that's nice. I know Stephanie Cadieux very well.
Yeah.
When she was MLA and very good friend.
Yes.
Super nice lady.
Yes, and now she is Canada's first accessibility officer and is also working on promoting accessibility across the country. So we met in Richmond, which is where Rick is from, and the three of us had a nice conversation, and we, of course, talked about our paths and where our paths had crossed in the past, Stephanie and I knew each other through more through my White Rock involvement. And Rick and I knew each other through my previous Child Development Center involvement. And now here the three of us met because all three of us are quite concerned about accessibility within Canada. And as the Prime Minister, when he was in the riding and announced the funding that we would get to bring the pier in White Rock up to seismic standards of today, and also the pier is no longer safe for a large part of it. It, as you know, was damaged a few years ago for one part of it.
I'm there most of the days.
One part of it was damaged and has been brought up to standards, but 2/3 of it is no longer really as safe as it needs to be. So I said to both of them, you know, let's make the pier, which is the #1 tourist destination for the city of White Rock, let's make that a landmark for the world to show how every tourist destination can be completely accessible for all members of society, regardless of any physical disabilities or mobility challenges. Not only people in wheelchairs, it's for even mums who are coming on the pier with small children and strollers, and people in walkers, visually impaired people, hearing impaired people. Let's make this a place that people point to around the world.
That's a very, very good idea. So ਮੇਰੀ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਚੱਲ ਰਹੀ ਸੀ ਤੇ ਖਾਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਮੈਂ ਪੁੱਛਿਆ ਕਿ ਰਿਕ ਹੈਂਸਨ ਨਾਲ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਮੀਟਿੰਗ ਹੋਈ ਹੈ, ਸੋ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਮੀਟਿੰਗ ਹੋਈ ਰਿਚਮੰਡ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਰਿਕ ਹੈਂਸਨ ਰਹਿੰਦੇ ਹੈ, ਐਂਡ ਯੂ ਨੋ ਸਟੈਫਨੀ ਕਿਡੂ, ਸ਼ੀ ਇਜ਼ ਦ ਟਾਪ responsible for Canada for working with the people with the disabilities. So then Rick Hansen and Ernie, they had a very good meeting. They talk about it, and very interesting because that's my area as well. So pier is White Rock Pier is the #1 tourist destination White Rock ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੈਗਾ। ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਕਿੰਨੀ ਦੁਨੀਆ ਬਾਹਰੋਂ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਆਵੇ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਜ਼ਰੂਰੀ ਵਾਈਟ ਰੌਕ ਵਿਜ਼ਿਟ ਕਰਨ ਜਾਣਾ ਆ। ਸੋ ਉਹ ਇਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਵੀ ਉਸ ਦਾ ਕਾਫੀ ਕੰਮ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਡੈਮੇਜ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ ਸੀ, ਉਹਦਾ ਕਾਫੀ ਕੰਮ ਤਾਂ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਫਿਕਸ ਕਰਤਾ ਆ, ਪਰ ਕਾਫੀ ਉਹਦਾ ਕੰਮ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਫਿਕਸ ਕਰਨ ਵਾਲਾ ਹੈ। ਸੋ ਅਰਨੀਜ਼ ਗੋਲ ਇਜ਼ ਟੂ ਮੇਕ ਇਟ ਅ ਲੈਂਡਮਾਰਕ, ਤਾਂ ਕਿ ਉਹ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਹੋਰ ਵੀ ਵਧੀਆ ਬਣਾ ਸਕੇ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਉਸ 'ਤੇ ਕਾਫੀ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਹੋਰ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਨ ਵਾਲਾ। ਸੋ ਦੇ ਰਲ ਕੇ ਉਸ ਦੀ ਫੰਡਿੰਗ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਤਾਂ ਕਿ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਮਜ਼ਬੂਤ ਹੋਵੇ। ਨਾਟ ਓਨਲੀ ਵੀਲ ਚੇਅਰ ਐਕਸੈਸਿਬਿਲਿਟੀ, ਪਰ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਕਈ ਵਾਰੀ ਮਦਰਸ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਛੋਟੇ ਛੋਟੇ ਬੱਚੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ, ਸੋ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਪੈਰ ਨਾ ਫਸ ਜੇ, ਯੂ ਮੇਕਿੰਗ ਇਟ ਰੀਲੀ ਸੇਫ ਲਾਈਕ ਯੂ ਗਾਈਜ਼ ਡਿਡ ਵੈਨ ਯੂ ਆਰ ਇਨ ਦ ਕੌਂਸਲ ਐਂਡ ਪੁੱਟ ਦੈਟ tarp there, whatever is called. It's already easier for wheelchairs now. Susan Baines, I think, spearheaded that, and she's a counselor now, right?
She's a counselor now, yes, and she and I worked together on ensuring that we brought, but that was a temporary measure to bring the mat onto the pier.
Yeah, one side of the pier.
One side of the pier, yeah. But Rick was telling me how tourism amongst the people with disabilities is billions of dollars to the economy of Canada. And if we can, again, show the world how we can make parks accessible, how we can make the beach accessible, how we can provide an area for the world to come to, and make sure that it is safe, inviting, and I keep using the word accessible, but that's what we're trying to do, to take away barriers from stopping people from coming to Canada. As you know, Canada is a place that people from all over the world now are visiting, and Canadians alone are traveling within Canada as we see the decrease of Canadians heading to the countries south of us. We're exploring our own backyards.
And more Americans are visiting us, so their percentage has grown.
Yes, it's ironic. I heard an interview with the senator from the state of Washington, and she was talking about how the economy in Washington is hurting because Canadians are not coming down, as well as Americans are spending more money in Canada, so they are not even spending as much money in their home state, which is, of course, a great benefit to Canada and a real show of support to the leader we have in our country.
Very, very much so. So ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਚੱਲ ਰਹੀ ਸੀ ਪੀਅਰ ਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ। ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਕਿ ਵਾਈਟ ਰੌਕ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਉਹਦੀ ਕਿੰਨੀ ਪਪੂਲੈਰਿਟੀ ਹੈ। ਮੈਂ ਆਲਮੋਸਟ 3-4 ਦਿਨ ਹਫ਼ਤੇ 'ਚ ਉੱਥੇ ਵਾਕ ਕਰਨ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਆ। ਆਈ ਸੀ ਆਲ ਦ ਡਾਈਵਰਸਿਟੀ, ਆਲ ਕਾਈਂਡ ਆਫ ਪੀਪਲ ਵਰਲਡ ਵਾਈਡ ਉੱਥੇ ਆਉਂਦੇ ਆ ਤੇ ਲੋਕੀ ਵਿਜ਼ਿਟ ਕਰਨ ਆਉਂਦੇ ਆ। ਤੇ ਉਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਵੀ ਰਿਕ ਹੈਂਸਨ ਨਾਲ, ਸਟੈਫਨੀ ਕਡੂ ਨਾਲ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਗੱਲ ਹੋਈ ਸੀਗੀ, ਸੋ ਇਹਨੂੰ ਹੋਰ ਵੀ ਵਧੀਆ ਬਣਾਇਆ ਜਾਵੇ, ਹੋਰ ਵੀ ਐਕਸੈਸਿਬਲ ਬਣਾਇਆ ਜਾ ਸਕੇ ਤਾਂ ਕਿ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਇਨ ਐਂਡ ਆਊਟ, regardless of either they're on disability or not, but accessible to everybody. So more ਜਿਹੜਾ ਟੂਰਿਜ਼ਮ ਹੈ, ਬਾਕੀ ਸਾਡੀ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਹੀ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਗੱਲ ਚੱਲ ਰਹੀ ਸੀ ਆਪਣਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਟੂਰਿਜ਼ਮ, ਲੋਕੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕਾਫੀ ਕੱਟ ਬੈਕ ਕੀਤਾ ਗੋਇੰਗ ਟੂ ਅਮਰੀਕਾ, ਲਾਈਕ ਅਬਾਊਟ 33% ਡਰੋਪ Canadians going to America, and the percentage coming from America is greater. So Ernie ਨੂੰ ਵਾਸ਼ਿੰਗਟਨ ਦੇ ਸੈਨੇਟਰ ਨਾਲ ਮਿਲਣ ਦਾ ਮੌਕਾ ਮਿਲਿਆ। they are very concerned because you know what is happening in America. So people ਜਿਹੜੇ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਉੱਧਰ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਾ ਰਹੇ Canadians, ਪਰ ਉੱਧਰੋਂ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਲੋਕੀ ਆ ਰਹੇ ਹੈ। And talking about that, I think one of the concern, Ernie, that why I find, and you very much, your area is DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and the way it's damaged lately, the news we hear in USA versus Canada. What are your take on that?
Well, yes, the President of the United States is doing away with the DEI policies, diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I would venture to say that the Conservative Party of Canada, under their current leader at least, is
Yes.
following in the footsteps. He has mentioned on several occasions that he would be doing away with the DEI policies that Canada has adopted. And we, as a multicultural country, we have prided ourselves in making sure that jobs, for example, need to go to the most qualified people. However, we need to take away roadblocks that are put in place for people from different backgrounds, different language, mother languages. It's
or their sexual orientation, you know. So all these things are very important.
That's right. Sexual orientation, race,
Age.
language, age, all of these things need to be on a level playing field because, as you know, our population is aging and we're bringing more immigrants into Canada. And all of these things need to happen. People need to work longer because we just don't have the workforce in Canada. If people at the age of 65, for example, were to stop working, my father retired at 65 because that was the thing people did 30, 40 years ago. However, now when you go into the workforce, not most, but there's many people who are 65, 68, 75,
Still working.
I'm
working
full time.
You are working.
I'm a senior citizen.
Me too.
By the definition of senior citizens, I'm proud to say I'm 68 years old and started a brand new career, which a lot of people say to me, I thought you were going to retire. And I said, well, what's the definition of retirement? Isn't it doing something you love and feel passionate about? And in my case, it was starting a brand new career.
That's a very good segue to our DEI conversation about retirement. I'm a financial advisor as well. And as a financial planner, very advanced financial planner, I do people's retirement planning, and the definition is changing. ਜਿਹੜੀ retirement ਸੀ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ 65 ਸਾਲ ਦੇ ਹੋ ਗਏ, that's it, you're done, retire, collect your pension and that's it. As Ernie said, and as a financial planner, I know, ਹੁਣ people ਜਿਹੜੇ ਹੈਗੇ 65 plus ਮਤਲਬ 70 75 ਸਾਲ ਦੀ ਉਮਰ 'ਚ ਵੀ ਲੋਕੀ ਕੰਮ ਕਰੀ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਆ and you know Ernie, as long as they enjoy what they do, that age doesn't matter, that's a number. If they're healthy, they enjoy what they do and not have to drag their feet to there might be some people for financial reasons. So ਜਿਹੜੀ retirement ਦੀ definition ਜਿਹੜੀ change ਹੋ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ ਪਰ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸਾਡਾ initial conversation ਸੀਗਾ DEI, diversity, equity and inclusion, ਜਿੰਨੀਆਂ ਵੀ ਅਰਨੀ ਦਾ ਵੀ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਆ and I always a firm believer in that, ਇਹ ਬੜਾ ਜ਼ਰੂਰੀ ਹੈ with our freedom of speech and our rights ਜਿਹੜੇ ਆਪਣੇ constitution ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ built in ਹੈ but ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਆ ਕਿ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਆਪੋਜੀਸ਼ਨ ਲੀਡਰ ਹੈ ਪੀਅਰ ਪੋਲੀਅਵਰ ਉਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਜੇ ਮੈਂ ਲੀਡਰ ਤਾਂ ਉਹ ਹੈਗੇ ਜੇ ਪ੍ਰਾਈਮ ਮਿਨਿਸਟਰ ਬਣ ਗਿਆ I will get away with that. ਸੋ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਮਾਈਨੋਰਿਟੀਜ਼ ਵੀ ਆ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਹੈ, ਸੈਕਸੁਅਲ ਓਰੀਐਂਟੇਸ਼ਨ ਵੀ ਆ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਆ, ਏਜ ਗਰੁੱਪ ਵੀ ਆ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਆ, ਯੰਗ ਪੀਪਲ ਇਫ you know work against the people 65 plus and they're looking for a job, they should have equity as well. So ਕਈ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਫੈਕਟਰ ਹੈਗੇ people with the disabilities is another area of DEI. So we were very blessed in Canada to have freedom of speech and inclusion in our and some of the politicians, especially listening to Americans and because of Mr. Poilievre's policies, they want to get rid of that.
Correct. And I firmly believe that in Canada, as I said before, and as a parliamentary secretary, I have heard over and over again, for example, on the Atlantic coast, the fish packing plants, if they do not bring immigrants into Canada, that industry is going to suffer greatly. I hear that from the markets, the vegetable growers. Yesterday I was stopped in at a restaurant for a small Christmas get-together, and there was an organization, a business that had 80 Mexican field workers that were celebrating Christmas.
Oh, wow.
And she said to me, if we don't have workers from other countries, it's going to be a disaster. And I know that we're looking at lessening the amount of immigration coming into Canada, but there are some areas where we need immigrants. And that just relates back to the DEI policies, where we need to embrace every member of the population to ensure that we have safe working places, and we have accessible working places, and we have a playing field that is equal for everyone.
Level playing field.
For everyone.
For everyone.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Klassen ਦਾ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਜਿਹੜੀ DEI ਹੈ, diversity, equity ਤੇ inclusion ਜਿਹੜਾ ਆ, ਸਾਰੀਆਂ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਆਪਾਂ different race, religion, whatever the sexual orientation or age or people with the disability, ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ equal right ਹੋਣੀ ਚਾਹੀਦੀ ਹੈ, and that's the beauty of Canada, and ਇਹ ਨਹੀਂਗਾ ਵੀ ਕੋਈ discriminate ਕਰੇ because of one reason or the other reason. And ਇਸੇ ਕਰਕੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਕਿ Atlantic coast ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਆ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਵਰਕਰਸ ਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਲੋੜ ਹੈਗੀ ਹੈ ਉਹਦੇ ਲਈ ਇਮੀਗ੍ਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਪਾਲਿਸੀਜ਼ ਆ, ਉਹਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਵੀ ਮੈਂ ਕੁਐਸਚਨ ਪੁੱਛੂੰਗਾ. ਇਟਸ ਅ ਵੈਰੀ ਇੰਪੋਰਟੈਂਟ. ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਇੱਕ ਛੋਟੇ ਪਲਾਂਟ 'ਚ ਗਏ ਸੀ, ਉੱਥੇ 80 ਮੈਕਸੀਕਨ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸੀਗੇ ਫੋਰਨ ਵਰਕਰਸ ਉੱਥੇ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਦੇ ਸੀਗੇ. So coming back to the immigration policies, and then there is some stoppage put on certain categories in immigration policy. I'm very well aware of that. Talk to Suk, talk to Randeep about it on a regular basis. What are your own take that? But I can tell you one thing, that we didn't have enough infrastructure for that. We didn't have enough hospitals, and there is not infrastructure to influx of students and those kind of people. What is your take on that immigration policy right now?
I do understand and believe that the immigration policies do need to be reviewed, revisited, and revised. Yes. We've gone to an extreme in Canada, and I do recognize that in some areas of immigration, we haven't spent enough time looking at how we're going to make it safe for Canadians. For example, obviously, when we talk about immigration in the Surrey area of BC, more so than other parts of British Columbia, but we need to talk about what's happening right now with extortionism.
Yes.
And some of that is, I believe, due to the fact that we were a little bit too lax on allowing people to come into
and
Canada.
a vetting process, because when we talk to, you mentioned extortion, so when we talk to that, you know, the elements that came through the system, the vetting process was not up to the mark.
That's correct. The vetting process was not strict enough. Yesterday, ironically, I was invited and enjoyed spending 3 hours with the RCMP driving around. And so I got a real lesson from the people who are the boots on the ground dealing with the criminal element, whether it's extortion or fentanyl crisis that we're finding ourselves in. There is a number of areas within this country that we need to, again, revisit the immigration policies, tighten up immigration. The president of the U.S. was correct in one thing, and maybe that's the only thing he was correct in, but immigration, cross-border boundaries, protection needs to be tightened up for a whole variety of reasons.
Yeah. So ਸਾਡੀ ਇਮੀਗ੍ਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਬਾਰੇ ਗੱਲ ਹੋਈ ਮਿਸਟਰ ਕਲਾਸਨ ਨਾਲ, ਐਂਡ ਦੇ ਨੇ ਬੜੇ ਸੋਹਣੇ ਤਰੀਕੇ ਨਾਲ ਕਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆਪਣੀ ਇਮੀਗ੍ਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਪਾਲਿਸੀ ਹੈ need to be revised, need to be revisited, and same time reviewed. Well, first reviewed, then revisited, and then revised. So ਇਹ ਪਾਲਿਸੀਆਂ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਹੈਗੀਆਂ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਐਕਸਟੋਰਸ਼ਨ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਕੀਤੀ, ਬਾਕੀ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਗਲਤ ਕੰਮ ਹੋ ਰਹੇ ਆ, ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਅਮਰੀਕਾ ਦੇ ਪ੍ਰੈਜ਼ੀਡੈਂਟ ਨੇ ਇੱਕ ਗੱਲ ਦੀ ਤਾਂ ਮਿਸਟਰ ਕਲਾਸਨ ਦਾ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਉਹਨੇ ਵਧੀਆ ਕੀਤੀ ਕਿ ਕਾਫੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਟਾਈਟ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਇਮੀਗ੍ਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਪਾਲਿਸੀਜ਼ ਕੀਤੀਆਂ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਆਪਾਂ ਕ੍ਰਿਮੀਨਲ ਤਾਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਵੜਨੇ ਚਾਹੀਦੇ ਨਾ ਕਿਸੇ ਵੀ ਕੰਟਰੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ। ਸੋ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਮੌਕਾ ਮਿਲਿਆ, 3 ਘੰਟੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ RCMP ਨਾਲ ਆਪਣੇ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਟਰੈਵਲ ਕੀਤਾ, ਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਫਸਟ ਹੈਂਡ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਦਿਖਾਇਆ ਕਿ ਸਟਰੀਟ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਕੀ ਚੱਲ ਰਿਹਾ। Tell me a little bit about your 3 hours spent with RCMP and going around. What do you see? And what do you hear?
Well, number one, I hear from the police, for example, that some of the social media posts that people put up there are grossly exaggerated, and there's a little bit of fear mongering that happens because of that. So while we truly are in a crisis, sometimes some of the information that is out there is inaccurate. So we did drive around, and for example, we were called on, or the officer I was with was called to a fire. And what happened was several police cars arrived, the fire department arrived, and someone had been smoking a pipe, but it was a crack cocaine or crack pipe, and had fallen asleep in his bed, and his spouse found him, and the blanket was on fire, and she threw it out the window. And so those are sort of the smaller domestic areas that affect everybody's safety, because this was in a condominium complex. So imagine if that fire had spread. So they were talking to me about a lot of the small petty crimes that go on, but he did show me within a 3-kilometer radius the areas where people were living who had been victims of extortion phone calls. And they're just saying that it's a much bigger picture, a much bigger issue than we as Canadians can even deal with this on our own. It involves several different countries, and we have to deal with it on a basis where the other countries work together with Canada to resolve this. So while people have said to me, well, what are the local police going to do about this issue? The local police are saying, you know what, we can only protect our citizens, but the root of the issue is much larger than what the local police can do. It needs to be dealt with on several countries working together on this.
Yes, the cooperation between, number of countries, wherever the immigrants come, cross the border, so all these kind of things. ਸਾਡੀ ਗੱਲ ਚੱਲ ਰਹੀ ਸੀ ਕਿ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਮੈਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਜਦੋਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਨਾਲ ਗਏ ਸੀ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਕੀ ਐਕਸਪੀਰੀਅੰਸ ਹੋਇਆ ਸੋ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਕਾਫੀ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਹੈਗੀਆਂ ਇੱਕ ਤਾਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਫਾਇਰ ਦੀ ਉੱਥੋਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਫੋਨ ਆ ਗਿਆ ਸੋ ਬੰਚ ਆਫ RCMP ਕਾਰਸ ਉੱਥੇ ਪਹੁੰਚੀਆਂ ਤੇ ਉੱਥੇ ਕੋਈ ਉਹ ਕੋਕੇਨ ਪੀਂਦਾ ਸੀਗਾ ਪੀ ਕੇ ਤੇ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਨਸ਼ੇ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਉਹ ਸਿੱਟਤੀ ਬਲੈਂਕਟ ਨੇ ਅੱਗ ਫੜ ਲਈ ਉਹਨੇ ਚੱਕ ਕੇ ਸਿੱਟਿਆ ਤੇ ਉੱਥੇ ਫਾਇਰ ਹੋ ਗਈ ਸੋ ਪੈਟੀ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕ੍ਰਾਈਮ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਵੀ ਐਡ ਅਪ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਬਾਕੀ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆਪਣੇ ਐਕਸਟੋਰਸ਼ਨ ਦੀਆਂ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਹੈਗਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਉਹ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਕਈ ਤਾਂ ਸੋਸ਼ਲ ਮੀਡੀਆ ਤੇ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਹੀ ਗਲਤ ਅਫਵਾਹਾਂ ਫੈਲਾਉਂਦੇ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਹੈਵ ਟੂ ਬੀ ਰੀਲੀ ਕੇਅਰਫੁਲ ਸੋਸ਼ਲ ਮੀਡੀਆ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਆਲਵੇਜ਼ ਕਰੈਕਟ ਇਨਫੋਰਮੇਸ਼ਨ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਸੋ ਉਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਡਰਾਵਾ ਵਧਾਉਣ ਲਈ ਉਹਦਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਆ ਬਾਕੀ ਅਰਨੀ ਦਾ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਇਸ ਲਈ ਇਕੱਲੇ ਇੱਕ ਕੰਟਰੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗੇ ਬੰਚ ਆਫ ਕੰਟਰੀਜ਼ ਹੈਵ ਟੂ ਕੋਆਪਰੇਟ ਟੂ ਮੇਕ ਸ਼ੋਰ ਦੈਟ ਦਿਸ ਇਜ਼ ਸਟਾਪਡ So we have, believe it or not, we have 3-4 minutes left. Ernie, we covered a lot of area, and it's a very interesting that we're dealing with a lot of fronts. What are your take on, and what do you like to say at the end?
Well, I need to say that. Canada is a remarkable country to be living in, and from myself personally, I am overjoyed and so proud to be able to represent my community in government on the federal level. I was proud to represent my community on a municipal level, and now to be elevated to this and to be on occasion able to have a conversation directly with the Prime Minister is such a privilege for myself, and if I'm able to bring issues from this riding forward to the Prime Minister, I'm so privileged and pleased to be able to do that. I'm hoping that we are still in a minority government situation. I'm hopeful that however it changes, whether it's through by-election or someone perhaps crossing the floor, that would be the ultimate for us as Canadians, not just for us as the Liberal Party, to have a strong, stable government for several years in order to deal with what we're dealing with on a worldwide scale. But having
sorry, it's a very good point because Prime Minister year-end interview with Rosemary Barton, she asked that question that because Pierre Poilievre is accusing that backroom deals and it's not democratic. Prime Minister answered very well, and you will probably on the same page. He goes, I have a mandate for Canada to take to a next level. And any parliamentarian feel that they want to be part of that they're most welcome.
Correct.
Obviously. And exactly you said in a different way, but the same thing.
We are an open, welcoming party, and we are living in a democracy, a free country. People have crossed the floor from one party to another for years.
One more member of parliament and then it's a majority.
One more would make us a majority, 2 more would make us a safer majority.
So it will be interesting to see. But thank you for your time and appreciate your time. You're doing a great job. You're a member of parliament for my riding, and I hear about a lot of good things. We work with the similar team. I talk to them on a regular basis. They're very excited about listening to this interview. Thank you, and keep up the good work.
Thank you very much, and I wish everyone, viewers, yourselves, a wonderful 2026. I expect it to be a very exciting year next year, and I wish everyone the best of the holiday season. So thank you for inviting me.
ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ। ਸੋ ਸਾਡੀ ਗੱਲ ਚੱਲ ਰਹੀ ਸੀ ਅਰਨੀ ਕਲਾਸਨ, ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕਿ ਮੈਂਬਰ ਆਫ ਪਾਰਲੀਮੈਂਟ ਸਾਊਥ ਸਰੀ ਵਾਈਟ ਰੌਕ ਤੋਂ ਹੈ, ਆਲਸੋ a parliamentary secretary for fisheries and oceans, and as our final comments, doing an amazing job for not only the riding for British Columbia and for Canada. ਬਹੁਤ ਵਧੀਆ ਜੌਬ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹੈ। ਮਾਈਨੋਰਟੀਜ਼ ਦੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਇਸ਼ੂਜ਼ ਹੈ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਫੋਰਫਰੰਟ ਤੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਹੈ, ਐਂਡ ਬਿਕਾਜ਼ ਹੀ ਹਿਮਸੈਲਫ ਬਿਲੋਂਗਸ ਟੂ ਦੈਟ ਗਰੁੱਪ, ਐਂਡ ਇਹ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਡਾਈਵਰਸਿਟੀ ਐਕੁਇਟੀ ਤੇ ਇਨਕਲੂਜ਼ਨ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਕੀਤੀ, ਇਹ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਲਈ ਬੜੀ ਪਾਵਰਫੁਲ ਸਟਰੈਂਥ ਹੈਗੀ ਹੈ, ਬਿਕੋਜ਼ ਆਪਾਂ ਵੀ ਉਹਦਾ ਹਿੱਸਾ ਹੈਗੇ ਹਾਂ। ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਰੇਸਿਜ਼ਮ ਜਦੋਂ ਖੜਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਆ ਉਹਦੇ ਲਈ ਫਿਰ ਸਟੈਂਡ ਅਪ ਹੋਣਾ ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਰੂਰੀ ਹੈ। So as Ernie said, I will say the same thing. It's the last interview of the year. So I would like also, behalf of me and my family, like to wish everyone happy holiday season, Merry Christmas, and best wishes for 2026. ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਕਈ ਵਾਰੀ ਕਨਵਰਸੇਸ਼ਨ ਆਉਂਦੀ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਮੈਰੀ ਕ੍ਰਿਸਮਸ, ਆਪਾਂ ਹੈਪੀ ਹੌਲੀਡੇ ਕਹਿ ਦਈਦਾ। You know, everybody enjoy diversity. So they enjoy Vaisakhi and Diwali. Equally, we should enjoy Christmas as well. So that opens up the doors, being a diverse community, and that's make Canada even more stronger and beautiful. Like Ernie said, it's a remarkable country. I love it. I get excited when I talk about Canada. So enjoy safely with the families. Have a great time, and all the best to you, all our viewers. ਇਸੇ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਹੀ ਦੇਖਦੇ ਰਿਹਾ ਕਰੋ ਪ੍ਰੋਫੈਸਰ CJ ਸਿੱਧੂ ਸ਼ੋ ਐਵਰੀ ਥਰਸਡੇ ਫਰਮ 7 to 8 o'clock। ਆਪਦੀ ਫੀਡਬੈਕ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਦਿਆ ਕਰੋ ਤਾਂ ਕਿ ਇਸ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਨੂੰ ਆਪਾਂ ਹੋਰ ਵੀ ਵਧੀਆ ਬਣਾ ਸਕੀਏ। ਵੀ ਵਾਂਟ ਟੂ ਐਪਰੀਸ਼ੀਏਟ ਐਂਡ ਥੈਂਕ ਆਲ ਆਵਰ ਐਡਵਰਟਾਈਜ਼ਰਸ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਇਸ 'ਚ ਕੰਟਰੀਬਿਊਟ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਹੈਲਪ ਤੋਂ ਬਿਨਾਂ ਐਡੇ ਵਧੀਆ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਤੇ ਐਡੇ ਵੱਡੇ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਕਰਨੇ ਪੋਸੀਬਲ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੁੰਦੇ। ਸਾਡੇ ਲੀਡਰ ਪ੍ਰੈਜ਼ੀਡੈਂਟ ਮਿਸਟਰ ਬਿਲ ਸੰਧੂ contribute a lot to this show, spent so many years to build this team, ਤੇ ਇਹਨੂੰ ਹੋਰ ਸਟਰੋਂਗ ਬਣਨ ਲਈ, ਆਵਾਜ਼ ਹੋਰ ਬੁਲੰਦ ਕਰਨ ਲਈ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਮੀਡੀਆ ਇਜ਼ ਵੈਰੀ ਇੰਪੋਰਟੈਂਟ। ਸੋ ਇਸੇ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਹੀ ਦੇਖਦੇ ਰਿਹਾ ਕਰੋ ਪ੍ਰੋਫੈਸਰ CJ ਸਿੱਧੂ ਸ਼ੋ ਐਵਰੀ ਥਰਸਡੇ 7 to 8 o'clock। ਰੱਬ ਰਾਖਾ, ਧੰਨਵਾਦ, ਸਤਿ ਸ੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ।